Hello, everybody. Meteorologist Jacob Campbell here with your WeatherNow forecast. Before I begin, I wanted to go over a couple of announcements. So, for the first one, I just wanted to thank all of you so much for your support in getting me to over 1,000 subscribers. I'm still thinking of what to do in response as like a little community reward type thing. But the second announcement that I have is that I have set up a Patreon, which the link will be in the description. And so if you are enjoying the content here and you want to support my channel, you can go to Patreon and you could earn some of the perks that are in those little patron bonuses and whatnot. I'm sorry if you heard that. My dog is sitting in my arms, little chihuahua. Anywho, the third announcement that I want to make is every time I make a forecast video, I'm going to do two versions of the same video, one long and one short. And so the long one is for people that really enjoy weather, that are really interested in meteorology and all the workings and whatnot behind that. The second one is for people that don't have a whole lot of time in the day and they're really just checking in to try to see what to expect for their area, and that will be the shorter video. So I want to get into it now. Here's Saturday. The SPC convective outlook for Saturday has an enhanced risk area stretching from Lubbock to just between Wichita and Kansas City. So if you live in this area, this is another wave of severe thunderstorms, as you guys have had quite a few of them so far this season. 2 nights ago, you guys got, absolutely hammered with thunderstorms and whatnot. So this is, like I said, Saturday. We have a slight risk stretching from just south of Lubbock over to really the Des Moines, almost the Mississippi River between Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois. And then we've got an area of marginal risk stretching from west central Texas all the way over to around Syracuse, New York, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. So if you live in these areas, we'll get into the risks here in a minute when we look at the models. But just generally, here is that risk area. So moving on to Sunday, we have a slight risk for severe storms stretching from south of Lubbock again to about mid-Nebraska, through almost into Wichita, through most of western Kansas and even some of central Kansas, through some of Colorado as well. Then we've got a marginal risk stretching from about, Mexico all the way up to Montana, over to North and South Dakota, Wyoming, and then stretching to the east. We also have an area that encompasses Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Columbus, and it will essentially go from east central Illinois through Indiana, through northern Kentucky, through Ohio, and then into West Virginia and part of Pennsylvania. Now, here's our rain potential for the next few days. Those areas that are getting those risks they will have a significantly higher chance of getting very heavy rain and even flooding. Some areas, actually stretching out through most of this band here, are at some risk for flooding throughout the weekend, seeing as though there's just going to be so much rain. We also have some more moderate rain around it, stretching from about Michigan all the way down to the East Coast, all the way down to Texas, all the way up and around to the Pacific Northwest. And then we've got just little areas here of light rain in North Dakota, Minnesota, Maine, and then Washington and Oregon. And these areas here, I don't have a little logo key for them yet, but this is mixed precip for the area. So there is expected to be some mixed precip in some of the more rocky and mountainous areas of California and Nevada, as well as in the Rocky Mountains throughout Idaho, Montana, through Wyoming and into Utah. So moving into Sunday, we see a lot smaller of an area of that heavy rain, which is good news, but the bad news is the rain is significantly more widespread this time. We've got rain stretching almost all the way over the United States, with the exception of the American Southwest down here and the Gulf of Mexico region. If you live anywhere else within the continental United States, you're getting rain of some kind, or mixed precip, if you live in mountains. Essentially, those areas of slight risk that we've been talking about, if you take a look at the slight risk, there's a marginal risk, and then there's the marginal risk over here too. Those are almost exactly translating over to this rain potential map, because those areas with elevated severe storm risks are also going to get a lot more rain. Then we've got moderate risk spanning pretty much the rest of the country, with the exception of a couple of light rain, and then light rain areas. And then we have, like I said again, some areas of mixed precip that are in the mountainous areas of the west. So that should be all for that. Let's go ahead and bring over the weather models. Here we are. So this is the 500 millibar winds. And so 500 millibars halfway through the atmosphere. I've explained this before, but I'm going to kind of go through it over again, just so that everybody knows what's up. So today, actually, let's look at the Storm Prediction Center map really quickly. Today, there's an enhanced risk area from Texas, in like west central Texas, northwest Texas, sorry, and then an area of slight risk spanning all the way from southern Texas here, or west central Texas, I guess, all the way up to through northwestern Indiana into central Michigan, and then through Wisconsin as well, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Illinois, and then a marginal risk surrounding all of that as well. And so what we end up seeing is we see a trough affecting that area tonight. And so we've got areas of convergence here, right where these wind speeds pick up, but then they diverge up here near the Great Lakes region. The big thing to note, the big feature about this, is that the wind speeds really calm down as they get to the Great Lakes. And so because of that, that will help quench a lot of the severe threat. However, if you live in any of the areas where it's about green to like orange or whatnot, and you live in areas where there's divergence aloft, that means that you're probably going to have some form of storms at the surface. And so if we take a look then at Cape values into tonight, we also see along that line that was outlined, we've got high Cape values here in Texas. Texas, especially parts of western Texas, are getting up to 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram. Central Illinois could get up to around 3,000 joules per kilogram, and then surrounding areas are going to be anywhere from around 1,000 to 2,500, and that plus a sped up jet stream as well as a divergence aloft. Those are a lot of the ingredients that you need in order to make severe storms. So going back over to the 500 millibar map, we're going to move into tomorrow night. And so tomorrow night, we had that area over Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas in an enhanced risk. And so when we take a look at that, we see that once again there's divergence aloft, and these wind speeds are a little on the stronger side, coming at around 40 to 60 knots around here in Texas. And so because of that, and also in parts of Kansas, and so because of that, you have essentially the wind will push the updraft to the side. And so if you ever look at like a 3D model of a thunderstorm, you'll see that the thunderstorm isn't straight up and down. The thunderstorm is slightly tilted, and that's because you have faster wind speeds aloft than you do at the surface. It tilts the updraft, which causes longer-lived thunderstorms, which could turn severe. So that was Saturday night. So moving on to Sunday night, we see once again we've got divergence aloft as well as some quicker wind speeds than last time. So what we're now expecting here is we're expecting to have once again long-lived supercell thunderstorms potentially, and we could see an enhanced risk pop up here in northern Texas. So moving on to Cape values. We're going to move into Sunday night. Either of these are really good pictures of what's going to happen. So we have that area of enhanced risk here in Texas through Texas and Kansas. And then we what we see there essentially is we have CAPE values that are in the mid to upper 2000s all the way up to 4000s in areas, which is what you need in order to have supercell development. If you have a very strong updraft, you are likely going to produce a long-lived thunderstorm, and if you have the shear and the directional shear as well, you're more likely to produce a supercell and thus a tornado. Moving into the day on Saturday, this is Saturday night, we see just this very long area of higher CAPE values than the surroundings, and so this is actually one of the same areas that we have that those risk for storms and for especially strong storms in the daytime, nighttime on Sunday. And so, like I said, we could see that slight risk area get expanded, and we could also see that the slight risk area could be expanded, and we could see some enhanced risks in Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Moving on to the simulated radar. So we see that all of those storms tonight are beginning to pop up in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, and they will continue to push off to the west as they bring that threat that we have for Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan and Wisconsin. It will push off to the west. It'll break down throughout the night, and then those will build up back to the east as the storms begin to pop up here in northern Texas and Oklahoma again in the day on Saturday. And so those will begin to build and push off to the east once again. I may have said west earlier when I meant to say east. It's a common thing that meteorologists do. It's just a dissociation between a westerly wind and a western wind. So a westerly wind is a wind that it blows from the west, and a western wind is one that blows to the west. So it gets a little confusing sometimes. So in the day on Sunday, we do see that those thunderstorms have pushed to the east throughout the Great Lakes region in the Midwest, and then those will kind of dissipate and then begin to push south as the next batch of thunderstorms start to pop up in Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma and begin to build once again to the east. So threats on these storms, the primary threats that we have to look for are tornadoes, which I believe that right now the tornado threat is only at 10%, which is good news. On Saturday, the tornado threat is at 10%. So on Saturday, tornadoes are a low threat. However, I believe that is a slight risk for tornadoes. Wind and hail are significantly higher threats. With those higher CAPE values, you get larger hail because you have stronger updrafts, and then with increased shear values and increased wind at the surface, you obviously have a wind risk. And flooding is another big risk along all of these areas. With the rest of the storms this spring and into this summer, flooding is going to be a very big threat because, this region from about Pennsylvania to the west and then North Dakota all the way to Texas, they've gotten so much rain that flooding is always a concern with these storms. So anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, check out my Patreon, link in the description. Thank you again for getting me to over 1,000 subscribers. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope that you all are having a beautiful Friday. So thank you all, and have a great day.